There he is. And
Hi,
welcome to the show.
thank you so much.
When you hear the autobiography or the biography that I've just um, shared with people watching this and listening to this, you feel what?
Whew. Uh, Grateful. Actually, a lot of gratitude just to be living in this house, this blood and bone house that's been completely renovated. it's uh, it's. I have had to learn how to have the emotion joy because I didn't know. I had my old friends pain and misery were with me so long that I didn't know how to feel joy. So today I have a life full of gratitude and joy, and there's some pain and misery, but they're not like they were.
What's the thing that made you unable to feel joy, do you think?
Trauma. It's so interesting to me that I lived all these years and had never really heard that word. I mean, I'd heard it, but
Trauma.
didn't apply it. Yeah, I lived a trauma. It's like tar and feather in your soul. It just builds up and builds up. And there were got five huge episodes in my life. And actually, um, I left Jay Flowers Institute. I call it my recovery alma mater. Was there for 4 months, and I went back for a week because I got home and I was like, Dr. Somerville, you guys didn't say anything about how to feel joy. I had this face. And so she goes, well, listen, we're going to send you to a trauma tango class
Oh,
and a trauma pottery class. So
oh,
I,
tango and pottery.
I did them both. And, I did tango and I made some little pottery thing, but it was about being around people who were going through the same thing and just
Right.
getting together and laugh and just talk about joy. And it's I know how to be happy on occasion, but true joy that lives in your blood and bones,
Mm.
from your toes up to your brain. I I don't think I had experienced that since I was 10 years old. So it's and I also hadn't cried in 18 years. So I mean, like toilet paper commercials make me cry these days. Why are you crying,
uh,
Herndon? I don't know. I'm just crying.
I want to talk to you about your crystal meth addiction and which you called Medusa, and a pandemic of your soul. And I wonder if you would explain to people who are with us right now what meth is and what it did for you when you began it, and why you continued.
Wow. It's everything from a medicine to the devil. Um,
Mm.
it's like Oprah versus the Kardashians. I've had to learn to put a little bit of humor in there because I used to have a lot of humor at the detriment of myself. And my sponsor, put me on a no humor, for almost a year. And I learned that that was also causing trauma to myself.
How
But
so?
just, when you think you're the joke of every room that you walk in, I have an interesting story about that because when my friend came down and did the 5 hour interview with People Magazine here in my home, uh, he said, I experienced what you told me yesterday. I said, how? He said, well, you said when you hear your name around town here in Nashville, people go, oh, I love Ty Herndon. Oh my God, greatest singer. Too bad. So
Right.
that
Right.
followed everywhere. And he was at the YMCA and he was working out. This lady goes, well, what are you doing while you're here? And he told her, and she goes, oh, I love Ty Herndon. Too bad. He
Mm.
experienced it firsthand. And he said for the first time I kind of felt not only were you dealing with trauma, you were dealing with shame because shame is also a killer. A lifetime of covering up something that's perfectly natural, um,
Hmm.
and being told that you can't have your dreams and you can't have your life because of it, um, which is what all I ever wanted growing up. I was a little farmer boy from Alabama. I wanted to be married, have kids, have a family, and sing country music. And at about age 11, I found out that I wasn't going to get to do that. And I certainly wasn't going to get to worship a God that I so crazy loved, which is all different now. uh, so, man, I think it started for me really early, at a revival camp meeting where a traveling evangelist, I was up there, I was singing and kind of doing a little bit of preaching, at 10 years old. and seeing people come up the aisles, and and who is on the Lord's side among you, and um, I did that morning, and the evangelist came up and preached on the sins of homosexuality. Every time he said the word, he would point at me right on the front row. I mean, it just pounded me with that word, so much so that my mom and man were like, "What's he doing?" Uh, but I didn't know what exactly it was, but I knew it was a bad thing. And when I found out what it was, I thought, I kind of like boys. I remember liking boys at 10 years old. So shame set in very early. So this bright and vibrant kid who went around singing everywhere no longer wanted to sing. My mom said it was just hard to get me out of my bedroom. And um, it was almost high school that I started to really get back into music. When I was a freshman in high school and I joined the choir, and I got the first freshman solo ever, and a Big Barry Manilow song. And I started being popular in school, and I started making friends, and it just um, and I just didn't tell anybody. It became a secret, and secrets,
Have
lies,
weight.
yeah, tar and feather, and
Yeah.
they just build and build and build. And I was going to have this career in hell or high water, and I became okay with hiding. I became okay with lying. I became okay with all of it. And by the time I got to Texas doing the honky tonks, that's that was some late nights up late, and I discovered drugs and alcohol. And as time went on, um, it starts bubbling up like volcano, like volcanic rock. And that was my medicine, really. I've said that some people have taken issue with it, but for me, I was living with manic bipolar depressive. I didn't even know it. I just found that out. I was 59 years old. And the way I like to explain that is, folks, if you've seen the movie Silence of the Lambs, if you've heard the song Flight of the Bumblebees, put those in a room together. It's just my whole life. And then dyslexia on top of that. And uh, one adjusting one little med, it was like,
Changed everything.
it's like, holy cow.
Mm.
I can actually hold a train of thought for a long time. It was life changing for me. And but when I walked into with everything that's happened to me, when I walked into James Flowers Institute, Dr. Flowers said, you might have walked through those doors. He said, but your soul was on a gurney, man. He said your soul had flatlined. It was our job to get your soul back in your body and then understand everything that's going on with you. Get to
My,
the
my my understanding is that there was trauma even in the first time you used crystal meth. That first night took a harrowing turn.
mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk to us about that?
I'm not talking about that a whole lot just yet. I'm
Yeah.
telling that story. I've got a book coming, and just I was abused sexually, and it was a tough time. It was the
Mm.
very first time that I had been introduced to crystal meth. So I will say this to people out there that have gone through this: if if you're given drugs, even if you choose to do them, you're not given permission for things to happen to you. And I think for the longest time, I thought it was my fault, and that scar ran the deepest, and that's why I'm not talking about it a whole lot yet, because I'm still in the
Mm-hmm.
process with that one. But glad that I am, most definitely. So, and like
You
everything that
mentioned,
I do and everything that comes out of me and I work on, I will talk about it, because if you don't, it's paying the healing forward, and so that's part of my. I guess I'm a preacher and teacher after all these days. So that's part of my calling.
you mentioned James Flowers said your soul was on a gurney, and I know at one point your mother bought you a coffin and paid for your funeral after one of your relapses. Some people already thought that you had died.
Yeah, Google said I did in 2014. I'm gonna put,
Did it?
I'm gonna put a little bit of humor here. I said, no, folks, that was my career. It wasn't me. Yes, my mom got on an airplane and flew to Los Angeles because I was in pretty bad shape. Um, and to my surprise, my mama was at my door with a good friend, my friend Donna Scott. Um, and she didn't stay long. She handed me a photo. I wish I still had it. I don't. Um, of my coffin. She goes, son, this is paid for, and we're at the end. You know, this is goodbye. And she said everything's paid for, gave me a kiss, and left. Don took her back to the airport. And I had a choice to be on an airplane at 6 o'clock that next morning to enter rehab. And by the grace of God, the angels were with me again. So I was on that plane, and my mama and my pregnant sister picked me up at the airport. And the girl in Dallas yesterday said, she goes, man, you've had quite a few second chances. I said, no, ma'am. I said, maybe my gift has had some second chances, because that's what God gave me, and it's been strong all along in my life. I said, but second chances are not something I believe in. I believe in life. I believe in the river of life, and we go through stuff. Mine's just been public. And if there was a second chance, this life is right now for me. So it's just it's complete healing.
Well, we talked about in your intro, your Page Six interview, or the piece that they did on you. You said that it feels so different this time around, and that you're in love with yourself for the first time, and you've got no secrets. What's made the difference this time around?
I'm in love with the boy.
How so?
I think you got to fall in love with yourself, man, because you got to love yourself best, because no one else is going to do that for you. And I think
what does that mean? Because we hear that, love yourself.
Sure.
What does that mean to you?
I did a lot of codependency work. I thought that I was because from American Indian heritage, I think there was some medicine women back through there, and I just thought I was intuitive, and I had this ability to get into relationships and love enough for both of us, and just I was so codependent, and the pieces of the puzzle weren't even in the room, and so I just learned to. I said this the other day in a meeting. I said, we all just learn to get by. We learn to survive. I've always wanted to work. I'm a hard worker, and I just always knew I could sing. And that's what I did. I said, so to God be the glory for the song, because you can hate me, you cannot like me, you can call me names, but if I'm standing in front of you and I'm singing something real, like Lean In or God with a Gun or How Great Thou Art, that little 10-year-old comes out. I mean, it's an anointed thing that has lived in me a long time. And it is the hand of God on my head. And I don't know that I've ever loved singing so much. This album, Jacob. That picture was an accident, but I'm glad we took it.
Jacob tries to do anything he can in the Bible to achieve God's blessing. Is this the Jacob you're speaking of in the title?
Yes, and we all know if we wrestle with God, you're not really going to win. One of my favorite sayings is that if on the Herndon channel, God has finally retired his popcorn machine, because there ain't nothing hanging on there. But I love that story in the Bible with Jacob and Israel, and God crippled him and sent him out, and he became a leader in his tribe. And I was sitting with my spiritual advisor week 1 at J. Flowers Institute, and sat down over some eggs, and he goes, Pastor Clint said, your story is a lot like Jacob. You're Jacob. You know that. I said, yes, I'm very familiar with it. He said, because at that point I thought I was done. I thought, I'm not going to sing anymore. Why am I going to bloody my nose in a business and do another organic album that's just not heard? Big chip, and it's gone. But I was tired, and you can only put yourself out there so much. With even the little bit of authenticity that you have, and even that can be stepped on. And I didn't want to sing anymore. I was back to that place with that 10-year-old little boy, and it was just a week earlier. I didn't want to live, so it was just to hear him say that to me, and I mean a wash came over me. I was like, he said he was a leader in his tribe. He goes, and you got to sing, man. He goes, you got a lot of people that need to hear what you have to say. Put it in your music. And I looked at him and I said, "You just named my next album, and now all of a sudden I'm excited. I'm gonna do the album Jacob, and there's not gonna be a song on there called Jacob, and it will be a statement piece about my journey, and um, just even writing the dang thing. There's 17 writers on this whole record, and um, if I were casting a movie and had to cast them all perfectly, they're perfectly placed. It's just their stories alone.
It's
Um,
it's a beautifully written album, and let's talk about Jacob now. My favorite track is "Till You Get There," and these are some of the lyrics. After goodbye, there's a next time. Every let down like an arrow to the next part, to the fresh start, to the best part that you never would have known. Every scar has a broken heart. It's exactly what you needed, I swear, but you don't know until you get there. I mean, that is a summary of what you've gone through and the arrival point that you've reached.
whew. Well, we got the recording contract. The record was pretty much done. And I said, for me, the only choice was to do something organic again, and just see where it went, because we never knew. We
Mm-hmm.
never we never knew what was going to happen. We didn't do radio singles anymore because they're too expensive, and um, you know, according to some of my constituents, we were put out to pasture at some point, and so I didn't know about the pasture. My friend Terry Clark goes, "Oh yeah, say hi to Patricia, say hi to everybody. You're out." I said, "Well, hey everybody, didn't know I was in the pasture." That's like Christian Chenoweth telling me to get the hell out of the back row. She goes, "Get up in the middle where you can be creative." So you're always in the room, Herndon, but you're sitting in the back row.
She said that.
Yeah. So um, yeah. So man, we sat down to write a radio single. I was like, "Jimmy, you got some songs on the radio now. What do we do?" I've got to reinvent myself somehow. I don't know what to do, and we need a song. And Jimmy goes, "Man, if you had one thing to say about at the very end of this journey, would you change anything?" I said, "No." I said, "Man, I would have known all the stuff that I know now till I got here." I said, "It took the journey." He goes, "You won't know it till you get there." Sounds like a song title to me.
Mm-hmm.
We wrote it in 2 hours. It flowed because it had to be universal for everybody. It also had to be from a guy that's been through a lot, that had a believable message. And um, I sat back when we finished it. I was like, "Is it too wordy?"
It's not. It's a beautiful song. It's my favorite on the album.
Thank you.
The most
I also had to learn what an algorithm.
algorithm.
Yeah, because I was like, "What is that?" He goes, "Well, you got to have it in here. It's for it to get on playlists." I'm like, "Okay." Reba told me I was going to have to.
The most powerful song for me is "God or the Gun." Is it God or the gun staring down the barrel, looking up? You only get to pick one. Oh, I prayed until my heart was numb. There was an angel making a phone call. Living room floors where I got my miracle. This is a reference back to your last suicide attempt, I assume, where you don't remember calling your friend. And you do say that it was an angel who did that for you. You had a fistful of Ambien. What was that like, writing this song and going back into that dark place?
You almost did it. You almost said that like a poem, man. It was poetic the way it came out of your mouth. Um, the hard thing about this for me was I have a family member that we lost. He was 24 years old, to an accidental overdose, and just loved life. Always smiling, never wore a shirt, just full of life, and just had a baby. And um, and then this happens, and I was actually in Australia, and I recently, just last week, got to go to Florida and visit him. He's in heaven now, but I needed to sit there for a minute, and because I often thought, why wasn't it me? And um, And if you don't believe in angels, well, I hope one day you do, because let me tell you, an energy, whatever you want to call it, spirit,
Hmm. Hmm.
they show up, and people feel them often. But um, there he stood when the phone went off ringing. It was all the way across the room in the 6 a.m. in the morning, and it was so loud. It was like one of those alarms that you call in the fire truck. It was so loud, and it was loud enough that just kind of moonstruck, snap out of it. It just brought me back for, because I was in a mentally in a state of slow motion, and um, and I saw Josh. He was just there for a moment. He did not have a shirt on. First thing his mom asked me, "Did he have a shirt on?" I said, "No, he didn't have a shirt on." And some people call that crazy talk. I don't care. There's one thing about this is what your opinion of me is none of my business. When I'm living center, and um, I got to go say thank you. It was on the evening I sang with my very first full orchestra, which was magical. Um, and I got to just, in a way, just kind of love on him. So, I release any stinking thinking, and
Stinking thinking.
yeah, and I honor you, man. Your journey here was quick. Um, but I will say your name. His name is Josh. I will say his name, and that's the gift that we've gotten from God with a Gun. That people are coming to the shows. They drive good ways. Mother and daughter-in-law were there just a few weeks back, and it was her son and her husband, and he was successful. And she said, hearing this song, she goes, it's a conversation, and we can say his name, and it's a positive conversation. And another dad brought his son. The chamber locked, and the gun didn't go off, and um, I I gave him the biggest hug, man. I said, you have a higher purpose, man. He said, well, he looked at me, he said, I have trouble explaining. He said, but now I just play them this song. And man, I'm emotional again. All right, totally about commercials. um, there's no greater gift than to birth a song like that from your a very bad time that had a happy ending, and is in some small way spreading some goodness. So praise
I
God.
think it's spreading goodness in a huge way. I think more powerfully than you possibly realize. And I think one of the things that compels me to you and to your story is how relatable you are. It may not be on the nitty gritty of your life experience and the things you've gone through, but we've all gone through and are going through our share of stuff. And we've all fallen into the depths of despair, and you've done so very publicly, and then took your pain and turned it into art after you survived it all.
Thank you. I never thought in a million years that I would take my pain and scars and secrets and put them center stage. If you told me that was the answer, I'd have said, what?
It's
This whole thing's been about, you can't, it's about changing your ending, but what it is about is changing, it's changing how your ending feels. It's making it better for you, because you can go back and speak into it, um, and maybe take those lessons and pay it forward. So
so
for
what do
me,
you
had a lot of that.
what do you say to people who are relating to you right now, who are where you were, whether it's just going through life's shit or in the depths of despair and wanting out? What do you say?
Hmm. Oh man, I found it wasn't about me coming out of the darkness. It was about me. It was about the light finding me, and I think surround yourself with good people, and open your mouth and talk. I mean, even if it's your worst secret, secrets are tar and feather, and cleaning up your side of the street, man, I'll be doing it the rest of my life, but I'm doing it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just trying to live a life of integrity, because I never had that. Some people might have thought, the success that I have had was um, would come with, riches and fame and glory, but it's it started. I probably started over 5 times, and every time has been more devastating. But today, I'm not pointing a finger at anybody. I took a really long look at myself and figured it out that I had some stuff going on that I wasn't in control of, and I didn't even know about. So, so yeah, get a good therapist and go to James Flowers Institute. They'll get you fixed right up.
What do you know about yourself that you didn't know back then, that you know now?
That I'm super sensitive. I was always thought I had to be really tough. That I have a huge capacity to love. I am I'm dating again.
Well done.
My former and I are good friends. So but man, it's he's dating too. So it's like we can't fish in the same pond. So I've recently met somebody pretty wonderful. So
Very good.
My thing has been, look, I'm not loving enough for both of us. You got to meet me halfway, and then that makes a complete love. So I'm going into something not codependent. You be you, I'll be me, and if it works, it's magic. So it's a whole new way of thinking for me, and I do that in also my business relationships. And so I also found out that I'm pretty creative, pretty smart outside of songwriting.
In what way?
Oh man, I'm just we've got everything from a book coming to a children's book to a mocktail to I'm becoming Dolly. I'm being a business.
The male Dolly. The new album, not so new, it's been out since July, is Jacob Ty Herndon. You're an inspiration, and I thank you so much for your bravery and sharing your story with the world, and for taking, as I said, that pain and turning it into art, because that album is just fantastic and is very moving. And I want to thank you for your time today. I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely, man. This was wonderful. Thank you. And be well, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. All the best.
Thanks, man.
There we go.
Whew, that was wonderful. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you so much. Thank you for being so open-hearted and sharing so deeply. Appreciate
You're a brilliant conversationalist.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Good at it. Thank you so much.
Ty, have a great day. Great weekend.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.